At 4:22 a.m., the radar stations west of Moscow blinked once, then vanished into static. Operators froze. No alarms, no missiles, just silence. The kind of silence that feels like the world holding its breath. Miles away, in a heavily guarded dacha, hidden among the pines, black sedans rolled up one by one. Inside, a dozen high-ranking officials gathered around a polished oak table. Cigar smoke curled above military maps and red-marked documents. They believed they were invisible, untouchable, protected by layers of secrecy and steel. They were wrong. Above the clouds, something small and silent drifted closer. Its wings hummed like a swarm of metallic bees. To the naked eye, it was nothing. But to one Ukrainian operator, watching from a dimly lit command post hundreds of kilometers away, it was everything. His screen pulsed with heat signatures, one brighter than the rest. His thumb hovered over a button labeled Only, Execute. The mansion lights flickered. The guards outside squinted toward the sky. Too late. A single flash painted the forest in white fire. The ground shook. The air twisted. The mansion became a storm of glass and flame. For 7 seconds, there was nothing but chaos. Then, silence again. No one inside survived. And yet, the real explosion hadn't even begun. Because before sunrise, the Kremlin would realize one truth it never imagined possible. The enemy had just found its voice. The mansion wasn't on any official map. It didn't need to be. It was a ghost facility, a meeting ground for those whose power existed between shadows and signatures. Intelligence reports called it the Iron Denver, a place where strategic orders were written, erased, and rewritten, often with lives. For months, Ukraine's intelligence network had whispered about it. Satellite passes caught glimpses. A new antenna here, a shifting convoy there. Nothing that screamed importance, but everything that smelled of it. And when analysts noticed encrypted communication spikes every Thursday at 2100 hours, they knew this was no coincidence. Something or someone crucial was gathering there. The irony? Russia believed it was invisible. Their generals bragged about undetectable command centers, shielded by electronic jamming and underground fiber links. They even mocked Ukraine's drones as flying lawnmowers. Cute, cheap, harmless. Except those lawnmowers had learned to bite. Behind the scenes, Ukraine's Strategic Reconnaissance Division pieced together a digital puzzle. Intercepted radio bursts, fuel truck movements, and even social media posts from local hunters who heard thunder without clouds. Each clue pointed to one chilling conclusion. The mansion was hosting a classified high-level Security Council meeting, attended by none other than President Putin's inner circle. For Kiev, this wasn't just an opportunity, it was theater. A chance to strike at the myth of Russian invulnerability. Military no-way-style irony echoed through the ops room that night. The target believed itself untouchable because it was too important to exist. And far away, under dim blue light, a young drone engineer adjusted his headset. His screen displayed the call sign Spectre 7. His creation hovered above the forest, powered by recycled circuitry and relentless hope. He grinned, whispering to no one in particular, "Invisible enough for you?" The radar interference grew stronger. The mansion's encrypted signals pulsed faster, a digital heartbeat about to flatline. And somewhere beyond the mist and static, a Ukrainian pilot smiled. Because tonight, gravity had allies. In a dimly lit underground bunker near Dnipro, 12 people sat around a glowing table of screens. They weren't soldiers in the traditional sense. No medals, no uniforms, just tired eyes and steady hands. Engineers, hackers, signal specialists, the unseen architects of chaos. They call themselves the Ghost Unit. Their mission: make the impossible believable. The operation had been in motion for weeks. Codenamed Glass Eye, it wasn't about brute force. It was about precision, the kind that leaves no fingerprints, only legends. Every drone in the swarm had been handmade, patched together from scavenged parts. Stripped GoPro lenses and modified circuit boards. Some even carried pieces of destroyed Russian armor, melted down and reforged into wings. A poetic form of recycling, vengeance turned aerodynamic. At 2:45 a.m., the room buzzed with coded chatter. Spectre, 7 armed. Raven 3 online. Altitude lock achieved. On the big screen, a live satellite feed painted a digital masterpiece. Roads, heat trails, radar shadows. The mansion appeared as a black void in the forest, pulsing like a secret heart. Lieutenant Mikola, the mission commander, leaned forward. He'd lost his brother in Mariupol. For him, this wasn't about politics or payback. It was about sending a message that brains could outfly bombs. He turned to his team, voice low but sharp. Remember, one hit is history. Miss and we vanish. The drone pilots adjusted their controls, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of screens. Each joystick movement was calculated, almost graceful. To outsiders, it might have looked like a group of gamers playing in the dark. But here, every click could change geopolitics. The operator controlling Spectre 7, call sign Mira, whispered to herself. Just another flight test, right? Her voice trembled, but her hands didn't. The drone's camera feed revealed treetops brushing past in infrared silence. It wasn't flying through air, it was gliding through history. At 3:55 a.m., Mikola gave the final confirmation. Targets confirmed. No civilian signals. Commence vector alignment. One by one, the drones formed a silent constellation above enemy airspace. The swarm moved like liquid light, invisible to radar, visible only to those who created it. Time slowed. Each heartbeat synced with the countdown on screen. Mira exhaled. Her finger hovered above control. The room fell quiet. No hum, no chatter, just a heavy sound of waiting. Spectre 7 confirmed visual. Visual confirmed. Authorization code? Execute. The command left her lips barely above a whisper, but across hundreds of kilometers, it echoed like thunder. Engines ignited. The swarm shifted formation. The night, once still and innocent, began to vibrate with purpose. Then, with one word, execute, the darkness cracked open and the world woke up. The first drone broke through the clouds like a shadow tearing the sky apart. Its propellers whispered instead of screamed. Below, the forest of Kaluga lay motionless, only the faint hum of insects daring to exist near death. The mansion glowed faintly in thermal view, its walls lined with steel, its windows sealed against a world it thought it had conquered. Inside, guards scrolled through phones, half asleep, unaware that history was already falling from above. At 4 hours, 23 minutes and 41 seconds, Spectre 7's targeting algorithm locked onto brightest heat source. The West Wing conference room. 12 moving figures. One static. The meeting had begun. Myra's breath steadied. Confirm trajectory, she whispered. Trajectory locked, replied a voice through static. You are green. And then silence, the kind that tastes metallic. The drone descended, gliding through layers of jamming signals and decoy frequencies. Russian radar towers blinked confusedly, unable to distinguish insect from intruder. One operator in a bunker frowned. His console flashed a warning. Thermal anomaly detected. He adjusted his screen, muttered something about false positives, and went back to his coffee. That was his last sip. At 4 hours, 24 minutes and 9 seconds, the first detonation tore the silence apart. It wasn't loud at first. It was sharp, a concentrated sonic snap that punched the air before the fire arrived. Glass erupted outward. The conference table vaporized into splinters. Inside, men who had shaped propaganda now found themselves shaped by physics. The explosion carved a perfect hole through the structure, lifting debris into a flaming spiral that lit the tree for miles. But the attack wasn't over. It was layered. From high above Raven 3, a smaller decoy drone dove headfirst toward the roof. Its payload wasn't explosives. It was noise, a burst of electromagnetic interference that blinded all local communications. Radios screamed, then went silent. The Russians couldn't call for help. Not that help was coming. Then came the second wave. Twin drones carrying thermobaric microcharges, detonating milliseconds apart. The result, a vacuum implosion that sucked oxygen out of the air, collapsing the mansion inward like paper. The shockwave flattened nearby vehicles, flipping them like toys. Windows shattered 15 kilometers away. In the command bunker, Mikola's team watched the feed in absolute silence. Flames danced across their screens like living things. Mira whispered, "Impact confirmed." Her voice trembled, part awe, part disbelief. Mikola didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen, watching the mansion collapse into a crater of orange and smoke. The Russian anti-air batteries finally woke up, far too late. Panzer S-1 launchers fired into the night, chasing ghosts. The drones were already gone, their job finished, their circuits burning in victory. The operators on the ground fired at shadows, their missiles carving useless arcs through empty sky. Inside the smoldering wreckage, the one secret command room glowed with molten steel and silence. The encrypted laptops, the classified maps, the egos, all ash. Among the rubble, only fragments remained, a half-melted insignia, a broken watch still ticking, and the echo of disbelief. Above the inferno, a single drone camera caught the aftermath. The feed jittered but held steady, the mansion's ruins glowing against the dawn. Mikola's hand hovered over the console as he whispered, "Cut transmission." But Mira didn't. She zoomed in, close enough to see movement among the flames. A surviving guard stumbled out, engulfed in smoke, waving his arms in panic. Seconds later, a third drone, automated and unpiloted, adjusted its course. No commands, no hesitation, just programming. A blinding flash. The figure vanished. Back in Kiev, the control room exhaled collectively. The mission clock froze at 4 hours and 26 minutes. 2 minutes. That's all it had taken. 2 minutes to rewrite an entire chapter of military doctrine. And then, as if mocking the silence it destroyed, the sound reached the nearest village, a low, distant rumble like the growl of a waking god. Farmers miles away looked up from their fields, confused by the sudden dawn-colored glow beyond the trees. One old man crossed himself and muttered, "Another storm." No storm, just precision. The fire continued to burn long after the drones disappeared into the sky. In Moscow, communication lines flickered alive with panic. Unconfirmed explosion. Possibly domestic accident. No comment. The usual words used to hide fear. But this time, even the Kremlin spin doctors couldn't find the right lie. Because somewhere in a darkened room filled with silence and smoke, the most powerful men in Russia had just learned what modern warfare really meant. Not who fires first, but who's already invisible. And as dawn broke over Kaluga, one line from Myra's transmission replayed endlessly through encrypted Ukrainian servers. A small, simple message written in her logbook. Target neutralized. Ghost returning home. By sunrise, the smoke over Kaluga still hadn't cleared. The one secret mansion now looked like a scar carved into the earth. Twisted steel, cracked marble, and silence. Local emergency units arrived first, confused and terrified. They weren't soldiers. They were firefighters expecting a gas explosion. Not the end of the myth. The air reeked of jet fuel and burned pine. Birds circled above the ruins, screeching as if even nature refused to come closer. Russian state media went quiet for 6 hours, a silence louder than any statement. Then at noon, the first broadcast aired. An accidental fire due to electrical malfunction in a private residence. The announcer's voice trembled. Even she didn't believe it. But the script was written, and in Moscow, disbelief had never been part of the narrative. Meanwhile, in Kiev, the Ghost unit watched satellite imagery roll in. The hit was cleaner than anyone had imagined. No civilian damage. Full signal blackout. Total elimination of the target zone. Every pixel on the screen confirmed it. Success without trace. Mikola removed his headset and sat in silence. The room around him was filled with quiet triumph, but his expression stayed blank. Victory in war was never celebration. It was relief laced with exhaustion. Confirmation from NATO, one analyst said, eyes glued to a live map. Thermal anomaly consistent with controlled detonation. No foreign aircraft detected. Translation, plausible deniability intact. Across encrypted Ukrainian channels, memes began circulating. One showed a drone wearing sunglasses, captioned, "Electrical malfunction achieved." Even in war, humor was a form of oxygen. The laughter was brief, but it mattered. At the Kremlin, tension spread like smoke. Phones rang unanswered. Generals vanished from sight. Someone ordered a full security lockdown. Someone else demanded a scapegoat. No one wanted to admit what everyone already knew. The strike had come from the sky, and they never saw it. In the digital corridors of Telegram and X, rumors multiplied. Some said the meeting had been about nuclear logistics. Others claimed it was a negotiation with foreign contractors. But the truth didn't matter anymore. Only the symbolism did. A message had been sent. No one, not even those behind the iron curtains of secrecy, was beyond reach. By the next day, the crater had cooled, and the story was rewritten again. Sabotage, accident, terrorist provocation, each version weaker than the last. But the internet had already decided what it wanted to believe, and what it wanted to believe was far more dangerous. For Ukraine, the mission was not just military, it was psychological. It reminded the world that innovation could outthink intimidation. That courage could exist without permission. Mykola stood outside the bunker later that night, the cool wind brushing his face. Above him, the same stars that guided his drones glimmered faintly, indifferent yet eternal. Mira joined him, hands still trembling from hours of control. "You think they'll ever know it was us?" she asked quietly. Mykola smirked, a tired, hollow grin. "They already do. They just can't admit it." In the distance, thunder rolled. Or maybe it was memory, because for Russia, it was just another Tuesday. But for Ukraine, it was art. In war, victory isn't always measured by territory or numbers. Sometimes it's measured in silence, the kind that follows a perfect strike. What happened in Kaluga wasn't just a mission. It was a message, a declaration that brains can now outfight bombs. And that courage didn't always need uniform or a medal. It only needed precision and purpose. The Ghost Unit didn't seek fame. Their names would never appear in headlines. Their work existed in whispers, in encrypted files, in black boxes buried deep beneath the noise of history. Yet, their strike proved something undeniable, that innovation had become the new armor of the modern soldier. No longer was war decided by who had the biggest army, but by who could think faster, move quieter, and strike smarter. Russia's strength had always been size, land, weapons, numbers. Ukraine's strength, on the other hand, was intellect, coding, improvisation, adaptability. And on that night, intellect won. Not because it was stronger, but because it was smarter. Mykola once said during training, "You can't shoot at what you can't see." After Kaluga, those words turned prophetic. The battlefield had changed forever. Invisible drones, digital ghosts, human minds turning scraps into strategy. This was a new face of warfare. As dawn stretched across the Ukrainian sky, the Ghost Unit powered down their systems. The hum faded. The screens went dark. Only one sentence remained on the operation log, a line that summed up the night perfectly. Precision is the new power. And for those who still think courage is found in noise and chaos, they're not listening closely enough. Because real courage moves in silence. Like this operation? Hit that button before YouTube bans engineering. Tell us what's next. Invisible drones or exploding pancakes.